only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning.
Welcome to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, where prepping doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Coming to you from a well-defended off-grid compound high in the mountains. Coming to you from his Florida room in Richmond, Virginia. Neither off-grid nor well-defended, unless you count as chickens and cats. Here is your host, Keith.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast. My name is Keith, and this is episode 21. It is Sunday, October 30th, 2022. So as I was going over some show notes and some jotting things down that I wanted to talk about over the last few days, I said I was going to talk about power supplies and that sort of thing. But I want to talk about something that I was not tracking on until about 4 or 5 days ago. I saw online the middle of last week that the U.S. has approximately 25 days of diesel fuel left in its inventory. Now, when I heard that, I'm like, there is no way that the government and the refining facilities, that they allowed the stockpile, or they've allowed production to slow to a point that we only have 25 days left. But when I think about it, of all the crazy things that have happened, and the ineptitude and the inaction of this administration and of the federal government as a whole, given everything that's going on in Europe, fuel shortages there, winter fast approaching, Nord Stream 1 and 2 still down, the war with Ukraine and Russia, the fact that oil leases here in the United States have pretty much stopped, the Keystone Pipeline was terminated the first day that Biden came into office. Alaska can give us about 2 million barrels of oil a day, but it needs to be shipped through a pipeline, and that's not going to happen. So we're not bringing in, I think it's the Anwar province, or the Anwar area up in Alaska, that is an enormous amount of oil that we can tap into, that we have tapped into previously. So I went ahead and started doing some research. And it wasn't just one news outlet. It wasn't a news outlet, on the far right. It wasn't a news outlet to the right of center. It was multiple news outlets, both on the left and the right, some bloggers, some YouTube content creators. So either a whole lot of people have been duped, or this is a real thing. So late last week, John Kirby used to be the spokesperson for the Pentagon, I believe under Obama. And I'm not sure if he was under the Trump administration or not, but he was a DOD spokesman back in the day. I remember, him and Marie Harf, the lady with the crazy looking glasses or whatever. I think she's on MSNBC or Fox or somewhere now. So one person, a Fox reporter, actually asked him, what are we doing to increase the supply of diesel given that the Energy Information Administration said, as of October 14th, this is when they said it, the U.S. has about a 25-day supply. You have the Northeast and New York already rationing some heating oil. What are we doing to prepare for winter and to ramp up the supply of diesel? John Kirby's answer: I'll take the question on the diesel because I just don't have the data on that in front of me. So let me take that and I'll get back to you. And then he talks about how we're exporting a bunch of natural gas, propane, fuel oil to Europe to help those folks get through what's going to be a very, very rough winter. So here you have a reporter asking the man who represents the White House, represents the federal government at a press conference. He says stuff, people ask questions, then he answers them. So the answers that he provides are the official stance or the official opinion of the Biden administration, of the federal government at that time. He doesn't have an answer. Now that scares me. It's not, oh, don't worry about it, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Oh, you've been listening to so-and-so, he's not telling the truth. I'll put you in contact with this guy or that gal, and they'll get you the details on our diesel stockpile or our diesel supply. But he didn't. He's gonna get back with her on that. So on the 27th, the Saudi Minister of Energy, I guess you could say, and I'm going to butcher his name, Prince Abdulaziz Salman. Sorry, Prince, if I got it wrong. We're just going to have to go with that. This is what he says, quote, "People are depleting their emergency stocks, had depleted it, used it as a mechanism to manipulate markets while its profound purpose was to mitigate the shortage of supplies," the energy minister observed, according to the some French newspaper. And here's another quote: "However, it is my profound duty to make it clear to the world that losing emergency stock may become painful in the months ahead." Prince Salman continued to express what appeared to be frustration with the Biden administration accusations that Riyadh had chosen Moscow over Washington when Saudi Arabia decided to scale back production by 2 million barrels. When asked about, the tensions between Saudi Arabia and the U.S., we keep hearing you are either with us or against us. Is there any room for we are with the people of Saudi Arabia? When specifically questioned about growing tensions with Biden, the energy minister said that his government has chosen to be the more mature guys in the dispute and will let the dice fall. He went on to tout that Saudi Arabia is the world's most reliable oil supplier and suggested that his country will play a role in ensuring European oil supplies for the coming winter, which have been heavily jeopardized by Western European sanctions and the Russia-Ukraine world. So as a direct result of Saudi Arabia cutting back production by 2 million barrels, then Biden suggested you've sided with Moscow instead of us, sided with Moscow instead of Ukraine, Moscow over Washington. That did not go over very well. So this man stood up in front of the world and just said that by using your reserve, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which Biden has tapped into a couple times, and it's at its lowest level in decades, there was no need for us to do that. It's being done, basically, in my opinion, for political gain with the midterms coming up on November the 8th. when you release that stockpile, it's going to bring gas down a few cents. It's not going to come down to $1.50 a gallon. We're not going to come down to $2.50. We're not going to come down to $3 a gallon. But what you also do is that you don't allow our military to have access to that reserve, which is basically what it's there for. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and take a breath because I know I ran through that kind of quickly. I'm really surprised that this is not getting any traction. I'm really surprised we're not hearing about this more. But on the other hand, I'm really not surprised. It's so insane for me to say that, and let me adjust my tinfoil hat, that this so close to the midterms, the Democrats do not need any additional bad news about the economy. Did I say economy? The economy. If the Republicans were in power, the exact same thing would be going on. It makes no difference who the majority is. You don't want bad news coming out very close to an election. In this here, it's the midterms. Okay, if we run short on diesel or run out of diesel, what happens? So here is a 30,000 foot overview because you could just go down so many rabbit holes with this. The amount of product that's carried by train and truck as opposed to plane, it's enormous. It's an enormous percentage, especially by train because it's very cost effective. Okay, within the first 24 hours, let's just say all the trucks stop. Delivery of medical supplies to affected areas and hospitals, they'll run out of basic supplies such as syringes. Service stations will begin to run out of fuel. You go to your corner gas station, and probably 2 or 3 times a day, or 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to notice the fuel truck, the big tanker, filling it up. Manufacturers using just-in-time manufacturing will develop component shortages. So basically this means, let's just take Ford Motor Company. They don't have a stockpile of, let's just say, hubcaps. They get their hubcaps in like on a weekly basis. Hey, hubcaps.com, I need 50,000 hubcaps for the F-150. I need 20,000 for the F-250. You get the idea. We don't have room for 5 million hubcaps and 20,000 bumpers or whatever, wherever they get their bumpers from. So, hey, we need that every Wednesday. Bring us our bumpers and bring us our hubcaps. So that's not going to be there. The U.S. mail and other package delivery will cease. Food shortages will begin to develop. Okay, no mail, no UPS, no FedEx, no DHL, no Amazon. Automobile fuel availability and delivery will dwindle, leading to skyrocketing prices and long lines at the gas pumps. So the gas stations that do have fuel for the cars, the price will increase, and so will the line. All right, 2 to 3 days. Food shortages will escalate, especially in the face of hoarding and consumer panic buying. Think about the pandemic. Think about toilet paper. I'm not sure we even figured out why there was a run on toilet paper. Did somebody say all the toilet paper in the world was made in China, and China's not making any toilet paper, so we need to go all bananas and buy toilet paper? If there is a panic buy for toilet paper, I don't want to know what a panic buy for eggs, milk, and bread is going to look like. All right, 2 and 3 days. Supplies of essentials, bottled water, powdered milk, canned meat will disappear. ATMs will run out of cash. Service stations will be completely out of fuel. Garbage trucks, they run on diesel. They do not run on solar. We don't have any Tesla garbage trucks yet, but next week we might. I may be driving to work one day and here comes, the garbage truck, Tesla on it. It wouldn't surprise me. All right, container ships. Container ships will be stuck in the port because guess what? There are no trains to put the container ships on. Well, there's trains, but they're not there because they can't move. And the same with trucks. So, folks, several podcasts ago, I told you a little bit about my background in that I'm retired law enforcement. And my second career is with the largest online retailer in the world. And that's as descriptive as I'm going to be, because if I go into any more detail about where I work and what I do, I would have to begin each podcast with a disclaimer that says everything I'm talking about are my own opinions, and like you hear on the radio, the views expressed by the presenter is not necessarily the views of the radio station, its management or advertisers. So that's basically what I would have to say. So we're not going to do that. I can't imagine, and I keep going back, I keep shaking my head. I can't imagine that this is real, but I can. It's mind-boggling to me. No trains, no trucks, no tanks, no military vehicles, no way to transport our troops to where they need to go. And again, we can go down a rabbit hole. We can say, when we run out of diesel, is this when China attacks? When we run out of diesel, is this when China attacks Taiwan and then comes after us? When we run out of diesel, is this when Putin starts lobbing tactical nukes all over Western Europe and Ukraine? I have absolutely no idea. Okay, where do we go from here? Let's assume that, well, if it was 25 days a few days ago, we're looking at about 21 days. It's, I think they said the Monday of Thanksgiving week, whatever, that's the 20th. So where do we go from here? I have no idea. I have preps, but I'm not sure. I never designed my preps to counteract or to be prepared for trucks and trains not delivering product that everybody needs every single day. Do I have food? Yes. Do I have water? Yes. Do I have a way to prepare that food? Yes. I've got chicken, I've got eggs, I've got a metric ton of freeze-dried Skittles, and let me tell you what, they are fantastic. But I never prepared for this situation. I have prepared more as kind of a hedge against inflation. We talk about the corn index. It's gone up 20%, 12 cents a can. So that's what I've kind of prepared for. I have not prepared for an economic collapse. I have not prepared for a nuclear winter. I haven't even started preparing for the zombie apocalypse. I know, call me crazy. But if we get through this diesel thing and we get that taken care of, that's the first thing on my list. Well, okay, the first thing is going to be I'm going to prep for the zombie apocalypse. I haven't thought that much about it, but I think it entails concertina wire in my front yard, floodlights. Do zombies, do they come out in the daytime and the nighttime? Because that movie with Will Smith, they only came out at night. But what was that zombie show that I never watched? I don't know. The Zombie Show, where it went on forever and zombies running all over the place. They came out in the daytime. All right. There's zombies everywhere. I'm going to have concertina wire. Is it concertina wire? Concertina wire? I'm going to have barbed wire and a big fence. And that's as far as I've got because I just really just pulled that out of left field. After I get that taken care of, then I'll prep for something else, nuclear winter, whatever. But in all seriousness, folks, I am almost speechless. And that does not happen very often. I'm not going to adjust my tinfoil hat yet again, but I hope this is wrong. I hope this is wrong. Because if it's not, we are up shit's creek without a paddle. I've always talked about, don't listen to those doom and gloom guys and gals, and Costco doesn't have any food, and Russia's moved missiles to Norway, and get these 5 things before the government bans them, or whatever the heck some of these titles are. It's already begun. It's these crazy titles. It's just clickbait. But I have to tell you, I have heard this from enough folks and from enough sources that it's either what are the biggest lies, and everybody just globbed onto it because of the situation we're in, or there's actually some validity to it. I don't know if I should go out, and take, my jerry cans that I initially had ready to go for $5 gas, a $5 gallon gas. I don't know if I should go fill those up at we're still at about $3.50 here in Central Virginia. I'm not sure. Because let's say I have 50 gallons of gas. Where am I going? I'll be damned if I'm going to go to the local Food Lion, get involved in that mess there when people start panic buying. I'm surprised they haven't already. We're 21 days away. We got plenty of time to loot the Food Lion and the Wawa and, our neighborhood Walmart. Yeah, we can loot those because looters, most looters don't get up till about the crack of noon anyway. And they usually wait, till it gets dark. I guess it's fashionable to loot at night. Because when you set things on fire, it just doesn't have the same appeal, on the local news in the daytime as it does at night. So maybe that's it. And if this does come true, there are no mechanisms in place. If we're down to such a short supply now, it's not like somebody can press the diesel button. Hey, did you hit the diesel button? Well, it was your turn to hit the diesel button, John. No, Mike, I hit the diesel button last week. For God's sakes, would someone just hit the diesel button? Oh, okay, well, give us a few days and we're good. Well, somebody has not hit the make the diesel button, and because, we don't have, the raw crude, to make diesel. And I watched a documentary several years ago about how they make diesel fuel. They kind of like distill it, and it goes up as like a vapor, and it condenses, and there's these little traps along the sides of these things, and the heavier, like diesel's heavy, I think it goes to the bottom, and then you have your other different grade. It's very fascinating on how it works. Maybe next week if I'm not out panic buying and looting at the local Food Lion, maybe I'll go into a little more detail about how we make diesel fuel. Look at it this way. I live very close to a coal-fire electric plant. The thing is enormous. They have huge piles of coal in the summer because we use a lot of electricity to keep our homes cool, and then in the winter to keep them warm. In the spring, the piles, they're 80, 90 feet tall, and they're enormous. They just, they'll be small one day, and you have the rail cars come in and then the bulldozers push it up and make this big pile. The trains are not able to bring the coal from West Virginia, Pennsylvania, wherever it's coming from, to this coal-fired electric plant near my house. So when that coal-fired electric plant can't make electricity, guess what happens? No electricity. Now, do I have backups? Do I have preps? Yes, I do. But that's there's a much larger problem than that. I have not prepped for 30 days without power. I have not prepped for 20 days without power. I can keep things running, solar, generators, other things I've got going on. But long term, I have not really thought about power generation 30, 45 days out. It's going to get very cold. Will not be able to heat my house. I have a 100-gallon propane tank for my hot water heater, my on-demand hot water heater, and my gas logs. Well, that's only going to last me so long. And then when that goes out, because the fuel truck that's full of natural gas and propane, he's not going to be able to get to my house to fill my tank up. I know I mentioned several minutes ago about panic buying and toilet paper, kind of in jest. When I was a police officer, and I can't remember the hurricane that came through, I was without power at my residence for about, I think, 7 or 8 days. It was significant here in Richmond, in the Central Virginia area. And I was prepared. I had water in the tub. We had enough time that I had all the food iced down in several coolers, only opened a cooler when I needed to. There was a situation where an ice truck was on the way to a local 7-Eleven. The ice truck was hijacked. I kid you not. It wasn't full of money. It wasn't full of milk or cheese or bread or things that people need to eat and live on. It was full of ice. Now, it was probably going to go in people's coolers, but these people were not prepared ahead of time. These people did not purchase ice ahead of time. Hence, they're going to hijack an ice truck. Absolutely amazing. So if people, when you get that mob mentality, and that's a whole nother podcast, when people get worked up like this, if they'll do that to an ice truck, what will they do to a truck, the bread truck? What will they do to the ice cream truck? Bluebell ice cream. They may as well have to have armed guards, going down the road with those things. Well, they run on diesel, so they'll be sitting on the side of the road, and they'll be melting ice cream all over the road. But if people will get all worked up and actually hijack a truck of ice, what do you think they're going to do with a truck coming down the road, small truck, big truck, that they think might have food in it? They think might have, I don't know, what if a tanker truck? There's a tanker truck coming, and who knows, maybe it's empty. Maybe things full of milk. Somebody sees a tanker truck. Oh, there's the tanker truck. It's full of gas. Let's get them. Let's hijack it like we did the ice truck 15 years ago. Anyway, folks, keep an eye on this. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to try to be rational. Nobody is really talking about it, which again, like I said earlier, makes me very, very nervous. Well, I wish I had some good news for you. My chickens are doing well. Thanks for asking. So that's some good news. Okay, folks. If there has ever been a time for me to say this, please be safe. take care of one another. And until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.